What is going on, everybody? So excited to bring to you my last mock draft of this pre-draft process. The draft just a couple days away. So excited. Just a couple pieces of housekeeping before we get started. A reminder, this is a what I would do mock draft. So we're putting myself in the chair of all 32 teams. That means trades and drafting off of my own draft board, not necessarily what you see in other mocks. If you're curious and want to see my grades on all these players as well as some exclusive film breakdowns, you can get access to that on my Patreon. Also, a quick reminder, please do hit that like button if you enjoy the video, if you enjoy my content, even if you disagree with the pick. Hitting that like button, the easiest way to support the channel and share the video. A few more things, if you're shopping for tickets, use promo code FranchiseGuy on SeatGeek where you'll already be getting the best prices. Anyway, you'll save 20 bucks. A shout out to my buddies at Comp Keys. They do all the music for this channel. They've actually got some cool stuff going up on YouTube, so I'm going to put a card in right here. Check out their stuff. And then selfishly, make sure you subscribe or come back on draft day. I will be doing a live coverage here of the draft, reacting to every pick and giving my live grades. So make sure you come back here on YouTube for that. So starting at number 1, we're going Kyler Murray to the Arizona Cardinals. This has been the pick going back to January, since before he even committed full-time to football. I really think he's a special player. They are actually going to send Josh Rosen to the New York Giants in this situation for pick 17. I won't go too far into Murray. If you want to see me really break him down, I've got other videos about that. But from the New York Giants perspective, and why it's got to be a first-round pick here, I really do think Josh Rosen is going to fetch a first-round pick in a few days. I know there's some doubt. There's some people thinking Arizona might just go with Bosa and stick with Rosen. And I will say right now, as high as I've been on this happening, I do see that as a possibility still. But from New York's perspective, I actually think there is going to be a market for Josh Rosen. I don't think that there's really this diminished leverage from Arizona by taking Kyler Murray. I mean, there's a lot of teams that I think are going to look at Josh Rosen as the second best quarterback in this class, and a guy that's already played a year in the NFL. Granted, it was poor, but if you watch the Cardinals, he really had no chance, and he still has a lot of upside. Would definitely be my second quarterback in this class, and for the 17th pick, I think it's a no-brainer for the Giants, essentially getting a franchise quarterback for Odell Beckham. The only way that trade is really going to pay dividends is if it helps you get that quarterback. So we're going to stick with Kyler here to Arizona, and I would be hella excited if I was a Cardinals fan. You've seen what Russell Wilson can do. That is my NFL comparison for Kyler. Obviously, every quarterback is their own man, but I do not shy away from those comps. I think he's going to be very special at the next level. So let's move on. San Francisco, we're going to grab Nick Bosa. No explanation needed here. You could debate whether Bosa or Quinnen Williams the best player in this class. Well, San Francisco's got some guys on the inside. DeForest Buckner, I think Solomon Thomas as well is going to kick inside and be more effective there on the interior. They need that number 1 edge rusher. This way, D Ford can be that true high-end number 2. And really a big philosophy of mine, which I think you'll get a sniff of that in this mock draft, is build through the lines, build through your coach and quarterback. And San Francisco, with this defensive line now, with their offensive line looking how good they did last year, how I think about Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan, really setting up to have a potential, dare I say, dynasty there with a lot of youth and excitement around this team. I think a sleeper for, honestly, Super Bowl next season. Number 3, the New York Jets. Now, a lot of Jets fans want to trade down here as they do lack picks after moving up to get Sam Darnold. Can't say I blame you. The problem there is you need a dance partner. And we're not just drafting for the Jets here. We're drafting for all 32 teams. I don't know if the value is really there for me to move up. Quinnen Williams is a great player, but the Jets are going to be looking at one of these top 8 teams, and frankly, I think they're all pretty happy where they are. I just don't know if there's going to be a dance partner here, so we're just going to go ahead and take Quinnen Williams. You're going to establish that identity, elite defensive line. I know the Jets fans, you might not love it because they do have some good depth on that D-line, but you look at the best teams in the NFL, they're rotating guys, 4 deep, playing about 60% of the snaps on the interior. So this gives you 2 stars, the Williams brothers, and then you rotate Anderson and McClendon in there as well. And then you can just figure out how to help out Sam Darnold after this point. But you do come away with potentially the best player in the class here, so you're definitely not going to complain about that if you're the Jets. Then number 4, the Oakland Raiders. Now, we've been trading this pick down, but as we get closer and closer to draft day, and I really think about it, I don't know if I'm trading up to get Dwayne Haskins, which is what we've been doing for a couple teams in the past. So I don't know if this is going to be a good trade down opportunity for Oakland, even if they would like to. I think the value of the player you're getting here versus number 8 is very close. But we're going to go ahead and take Devin White. This team has spent some resources of trying to address that linebacker position, but none of them are going to be true impact players or pieces of the future. They're all like veteran guys. And I think Devin White, in a league where middle linebacker I think has become undervalued with the short passing game and the importance of being able to run sideline to sideline, Devin White is the ideal modern defender. Fits a huge need for Oakland. You could go Josh Allen here, sure. I've spent a lot of time talking about Josh Allen and how the Khalil Mack comparisons are absolutely ridiculous. I even have a film breakdown here I will link if you are curious about my criticisms of Allen. I think Allen's a great player, but I'm going to go ahead and take Devin White. And then number 5, Tampa Bay. Now, we've been mocking Byron Murphy here in the past, and I wouldn't have any gripes about that. I think Tampa Bay is absolutely desperate at corner. And as all the analytics back up, it is actually trending in a way that corner and coverage units, the ability to cover wide receivers, is actually trending in a direction where it's more valuable than edge rush. I think a lot of that is just because when you're bad at covering, you're really bad. And when you're bad at rushing the passer, you can still kind of do it because the depth in the league at pass rush is a lot deeper than corner. I think that is mainly why that is the case. But we are going to take Josh Allen here. Switching to that 3-4 scheme, Josh Allen is a great fit here. Now, like I said, I do think he does have some developing to do to return value here. Hard worker, great athlete. He very well could do that. Worst case, he's going to be a fantastic 3-4 edge outside linebacker who can blitz in this aggressive scheme under Todd Bowles. Really the ideal scheme fit for Josh Allen, because even if he doesn't develop those elite skill sets like Von Miller or Joey Bosa, he can still produce like he did at Kentucky on a lot of crazy blitz schemes, even line him up as an off-ball linebacker at times. So just a really good fit here, and we're going to go Josh Allen. Number 6, the New York Giants. So they already got their quarterback, Josh Rosen, and now they are going to help protect him. The right side of this offensive line in New York is a huge liability. Now, they did bring in Kevin Zeitler. The left side of this line actually was a little better than people thought last year, but right tackle still a massive problem. We're going to grab Jonah Williams, I think one of the more underrated players in this class, because a lot of analysts seem to think he's a guard. I think he's a tackle, and I would actually put him at left tackle, kick Solder over to right tackle, and have Jonah Williams be the franchise tackle protecting Josh Rosen for the rest of his career, as long as it may be in New York. Even if he doesn't last, I know Jonah Williams will at left tackle. So then number 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is where Ed Oliver is going to come off the board. Ed Oliver, to me, one of 3 blue chip players in this class. Falling just because of kind of necessity here and positional demand. I am, just as many people are, Ed Oliver truthers. I think Jacksonville is going to beef up the strength of that interior line, really get that pass rush back to being an elite group. I know you got Taven Bryan there. He can still play. Jacksonville may have other needs, I will grant you that, but Ed Oliver to me is too talented to pass up. He offers Jacksonville too much potential to get back to being that elite defense, that number 1 defense in the league that I think they will have to be if they have any chance of winning a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, because it's not going to be with offense. Number 8, Detroit. We're sticking with Rashan Gary. Lions fans are not happy with me about this. They're not happy that I'm not even considering anything else, but it really is the perfect scheme fit. I have an entire film breakdown on Rashan Gary, on why he is the perfect fit here for Detroit, and why I think the hate has gone too far on Rashan Gary. So if you're commenting here on Gary, I will just redirect you to that video right now with this card. Pick number 9, Buffalo. This was really hard for me. I thought about trading down. Just didn't know exactly where the value was matching the need here of Buffalo, but we're going to actually take Greedy Williams. I know they've got Levi Wallace. I know they have Tre'Davious White, but like we said, corner is becoming more and more important. This gives this team an elite duo of former teammates, Tre'Davious White and Greedy Williams. They've got picks later that they can use to fill out the offense here. Greedy, to me, a top 10 player. I think very underrated. I don't necessarily understand the concerns with him. Yeah, he doesn't tackle very well. So what? I don't need my corners to tackle. I need them to be fast and cover and have good technique. and have length, and Greedy offers all of it. I like Byron Murphy as well, but I think he might be a little redundant with Tre'Davious White. I think Greedy offers a different element with that length and speed. So you get a plug-and-play star corner on the opposite of Tre'Davious White. I think there's going to be some Bills fans that don't like this pick, but positional demand at corner and really just the importance of the position, I'm more than comfortable making this pick if I'm Brandon Beane. So then number 10, the Denver Broncos. And you might be wondering why Dwayne Haskins hasn't come off the board. Well, like I said, we're getting closer to draft day. I'm trying to place myself in the GM chair for all these teams. And it just is a little hard for me to pull the trigger. I think he's going to be a good starter. He could start for 10 years. But his deep accuracy concerns me. I don't really know what the true ceiling is for him. I think he's going to be a good player and should go in the first round. But I'm looking to trade down here if I'm Denver. You got 2 plug-and-play tackles left on the board. You just signed Jawaan James out of or from Miami. Everyone knows that Atlanta is probably going tackle at 14, so who's going to be looking to move up and get a tackle, as it's just such an important position? I've said it in the past on this channel, I think finding a tackle might be more difficult than finding a starting quarterback in the NFL these days, and you need 2 of them. So Houston, I look at this team, they have a lot of good players, but their tackles are potentially the worst duo in the NFL. Matt Khalil, not the answer, I'm sorry. Even if he is, you still need another one. So Houston, we're going to give up the 54th pick, the 23rd pick, and a future second. So you actually get to keep your future first to make this move. Denver's going to stay in the first round and pick up some high caliber picks there, and Houston is going to grab Andre Dillard, one of the best pass protecting prospects I've seen in a long time. Fantastic athlete, and was just a star pass protector at Washington State. I think a big reason we saw success in guys like Luke Falk and Gardner Minshew, who without the offensive protection they had might not have been, draftable prospects. So then number 11, Cincinnati. Byron Murphy is just too good of a player for me to pass up, and corner is just too important. Cincinnati has some good players on that defense. You're going to pair him now with William Jackson. Murphy can even start in the slot for a little bit as Drake Kirkpatrick finishes off his career. But with those corners, a stud safety in Jesse Bates, you got a pretty good edge rush there. You still got Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins, Carl Lawson, a total stud. Could still use some help at linebacker. But I really like this young defense, and I think Cincinnati is going to be a sleeper team next year. So then at number 12, Green Bay. This is really a nightmare scenario for Green Bay, and a lot of fellow Packers fans are going to hate me for this, but I'm actually going to look to trade down. I would love to have gotten one of the 2 corners, Ed Oliver, Jonah Williams, Josh Allen, Devin White. I'm not a big fan of taking TJ Hockenson. Aaron Rodgers has never used his tight ends well, and this is a really steep pick to take a player that, might be a position that lacks value for this pick. So if I can get a haul for someone that wants to come up and get TJ Hockenson and use him, I'm going to do it for Green Bay, because the drop-off for them at this pick from after Byron Murphy falls off the board is incredible. And I think if you can get the value later in this draft that's close to 12 and pick up picks, it's a no-brainer. I know Green Bay wants that impact player right away, but I don't know if they're getting it here at 12 given the players that have come off the board. So we're actually going to move up with the New England Patriots to get Gronk's replacement, TJ Hockenson. It's going to cost pick 32, a future first, or the 32nd pick in next year's draft, and pick 56 at the end of the second round. New England has so many picks this year, I think they would be willing to make this move. We've also seen them have first round picks taken away from them in the past and still had success. So I don't think it's too much to give up to get a player that really is going to make that offense click, and could very well be a better version of what they had in Gronk last season, who was already kind of slowing down. So then number 13, would love to find a dance partner here to move down. Just couldn't really pull the trigger with any other team. So we're actually just going to take Jeffery Simmons here at 13. It's my ideal situation for Miami. They do not want to win games next year. Got all the Dolphins fans, we're not tanking. Our coach said we were going to try and win as many games as we can. Duh. There's a difference between trying to win and building for the future. From a front office perspective, Jeffery Simmons gives you a potential superstar in the future. Seriously, a top 10 player in this class before the injury, a top 5 player in a lot of classes. Has that Fletcher Cox type of upside on the interior. The beautiful thing here for Miami, you can just redshirt him. You use this first round pick as an investment. Not having him play is in a way going to help you lose games next year, and you come back with a quarterback next year really ready to roll with some elite talent on that defense. Then number 14, the Atlanta Falcons. Ryan Schrader gets cut. They sign a couple guards, but they need a tackle to protect their system quarterback. So Jawaan Taylor here, the last tackle here, I'm comfortable starting day one. Not a perfect player, but should be able to plug right in there at right tackle. Between him and Matthews, you should have a franchise tackle duo for the remainder of Matt Ryan's career, which is huge. Pick 15, Brian Burns. This has been the pick really this entire process. I love it. I don't really like taking a quarterback for Washington. You definitely think about Dwayne Haskins long and hard. Just to me, this team's identity is run the ball, play crazy physical defense, have some explosiveness and just tenacity on that defensive side of the ball. They have a good defense, don't get me wrong, but they do need kind of that long-term answer, number one edge rusher. And to get the potential of an edge rusher like Brian Burns at number 15, who is a guy that needs to sit, and they don't need to get an elite impact performance from him. But I mean, we're seriously talking about a Von Miller type of athlete here who's just a young guy that has a lot of developing to do. If Washington can get that here at 15, that's an absolute steal. I think they have the situation where they can figure out the quarterback in the future and pass on Dwayne Haskins. Number 16, the Carolina Panthers. We're going to go Clelin Ferrell. They just need some impact performances on that edge. The Julius Peppers retirement leaving a massive void there. They brought in Bruce Irvin. He's not a full-time starter anymore. So Clelin Ferrell, one of the more polished, safe players in this class. I just don't necessarily know about the upside. A great fit here in Carolina. Then number 17, the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to try and find some offensive help for Kyler Murray. We're going to grab Noah Fant. Gives you that quick hitting option, a guy that can get open early against linebackers. Arizona just needs some more mismatch problems, and this is a great start. Then number 18, the Minnesota Vikings. We're just going to grab Dalton Risner here. One intriguing concept would be them moving up to get Ed Oliver. In this scenario, Jacksonville ended up pulling the trigger on Ed Oliver, but that is a move I could see. They need another interior guy. They'd kind of block off Green Bay, so do keep that in mind. Just didn't happen in this scenario. We're just going to grab Dalton Risner, plug him in at right guard, right tackle, wherever you need him. Desperate for offensive line help. Not going to get much argument on this one. Number 19, Tennessee. I tweeted earlier, this is the hardest pick in the first round. The value just isn't there in most scenarios you run. I think they'd love to get one of those top 3 edge rushers. Maybe they trade up for one, but I just don't see the value right here in the remaining edge players left. And hell, I even thought about Dwayne Haskins here at 19. But the interior of this offensive line needs a little bit of help. Brett Jones struggled last year. He's getting up there in age. They still don't know who's starting at right guard. So I'm going to grab Garrett Bradbury. I'd probably just start him at center, and maybe Brett Jones can play guard, or you just cut Brett Jones. But Bradbury, just a bully inside, super athletic guy, going to help this team run a lot of play actions, which this team wants to do with Marcus Mariota. Use that mobility. Also going to help in the run game. This team's going to have to run the ball and run play action if they want to have success next year. Then pick 20, we've got Blake Cashman here to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This has been one of my bold calls. A reminder, this is a what I would do mock draft. No, I don't think Blake Cashman comes off the board before Devin Bush. This is based on my own draft board. I think Blake Cashman has the higher upside than Devin Bush. Better thumping between the tackles, and I think a smarter player in coverage. Bush, a great player in his own right. He's not going to be on the board much longer, but I'm going to take Blake Cashman if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers. Get that freak athlete back in the middle of that defense. Something they've been really missing since Ryan Shazier had that tragic injury. Then pick number 21, the Seattle Seahawks. This is where Montez Sweat's going to come off the board. This has been the pick for a while. I just think it's a great fit. They're actually shopping Frank Clark. I don't know if I would do that or not. I'd maybe just let him play out on the franchise tag. But they do need some more help from that pass rush, I think. They were hoping to get it from Deion Jones. Just didn't really pan out. You get a freak athlete here in Sweat. Yes, there are major concerns, and I definitely share them. Especially about his kind of off-field work ethic. Is he going to get that paycheck and just kind of cash out? I think Seattle is a team with that culture who's proven that they can take a player like this and really develop him. So the number 22, the Baltimore Ravens, Devin Bush, from one Harbaugh to the other. You get that replacement for C.J. Mosley. Blake Cashman going over Devin Bush is not a reflection of me not liking Devin Bush. I really am just very high on Blake Cashman. But this is a pretty easy pick for Baltimore to make right here. Then number 23, the Denver Broncos. This is where Dwayne Haskins is going to come off the board. When we moved down, we had a pretty solid feeling that Drew Lock or Dwayne Haskins were going to be there. And even if they did go, I personally, if I'm the GM of the Broncos, I wouldn't be devastated if I didn't get one of them. I think both of them have a chance to be franchise quarterbacks. And in this situation, you bring them in, you just have them compete with Joe Flacco, who you gave up nothing to get. This team has a lot of strengths, but quarterback a huge weakness. So I do think going quarterback in the first round is a good call for them. I don't know if Dwayne Haskins is going to fall this far in the real draft. I just had a hard time truly pulling the trigger on him. We've seen players like this fall in the past, so I don't think it's crazy to say this could happen. But I think a lot of Broncos fans are going to be happy with this result. Then number 24, the Oakland Raiders. Now with these two picks, you gave away Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. You cannot swing for the fences with these picks to try and replace what those players gave you, because the hit rate on players like Greg Little or DK Metcalf, it frankly just isn't very high. And if you gave those two players away for a bust, that is just not going to be okay. So I am, with these two picks especially, trying to take safe players that are going to start, that have a little upside, sure, but are going to come in and be starters on that cheap rookie deal, which is going to add some added value that you're missing in having a superstar player. So Julian Love is going to be my pick here for the Oakland Raiders. I think a sleeper in this class, I think a guy that could be like a Casey Hayward, elite mind at corner, super quick defender, a little undersized though, doesn't have that elite speed, but he can play outside, he can play nickel, whatever you need him to do, he can do it, and it's a huge need here for the Raiders. Number 25, I've been going with this pick for a while, we're going to stick with it, Greg Little to the Eagles. Now I think there's this kind of scare that he's just an automatic bust. I think that's a little outrageous. He was a really good player at Ole Miss. Do not get that wrong. Now there's questions about if he's going to really put in the work, if he's got kind of that lazy 5-star Ole Miss guy that was probably paid to go to Ole Miss. There is a track record of that, and I'm as big of a proponent of, maybe put a little red flag next to Ole Miss players as anyone after seeing like what happened with Laquan Treadwell literally not working when he got to the NFL, or really the lack of development in Laramie Tunsil, who is a pretty similar prospect to Greg Little, by the way. But I think in Philadelphia, where he doesn't have to start right away, you put him in an environment with Donald Penn and Lane Johnson, you could really be getting a steal here in Greg Little. I do think people ignore the upside in Greg Little, and Philly needs to protect Carson Wentz, not this year, for 10 years. Donald Penn is old, he can't stay healthy. You could even start Greg Little at guard if you really wanted to, but Philly has got to keep Carson Wentz healthy and figure out who's going to be the other starting tackle long term once Donald Penn's gone. That is priority number one for me for Philadelphia, is getting that future left tackle. Then number 26, I just love this pick, Nasir Adderley. Reminds me so much of Malcolm Jenkins. Versatile box safety. Yeah, he could play free, but I like him in man-to-man, putting a priority on his run defense, his tackling ability. You put him underneath Malik Hooker, and you're going to have a dynamic safety duo, something that could rival what Seattle had with Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. Obviously, that was a little special, but this could come close. Number 27, the Oakland Raiders. Like I said, we got to find a starter here. Cody Ford can play right guard. If Colton Miller is as bad as he was last year, you can ask him to play right tackle. But I do think Oakland has got to address that offensive line that was low-key a big reason why they were so bad last year. Then pick number 28, we're going to stick with Dexter Lawrence here to the Chargers. We saw them get just demolished by the Patriots' run game in the playoffs. I'm never a take a nose tackle in the first round kind of guy. I think there's value to be had in free agency, but Dexter Lawrence, a guy who can come in, have that cheap 4-year contract, or really 5-year with the first round pick, and be an impact run defender. He can do some nice things as a pass rusher. Namely being that ability to swat balls that can lead to some opportunistic interceptions, I think, for Kevin King and Derwin James. He's not going to get a ton of push and pressure as a pass rusher, but he can be that impact run defender that this team needs. Number 29, Kansas City. We're going to just grab DeAndre Baker. Really just not mess around. I think there's some decent depth at corner, and there's a chance they could move down and kind of get cute and maximize the value, but let's just get their starting corner that they need and be done with it. Number 30, Green Bay. We're going to grab DK Metcalf. Metcalf has his weaknesses, but my God, does he have his strengths. The biggest thing for me is that hip tightness does kind of impact his ability to turn around and find the ball if it's a little underthrown or a little out of his range. There's no doubt that he can get open deep based on that speed. And the other thing is, you pair him with Davante Adams, who's a diverse route runner, one of the best route runners in the league, and you can put DK Metcalf in a very simple wide receiver 2 role. And with the ball placement of Aaron Rodgers downfield, this could be a lethal combination. So I think DK Metcalf has some bust potential, but in Green Bay, there's really no reason he couldn't become Calvin Johnson. So then pick number 31, we're actually going to move up here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now this is just kind of by necessity because I think Drew Lock has to be a first round pick in any mock draft because I don't see a world where he falls out of the first. So we're going against what I would do a little bit. But that said, I do think this is a good value here for the Jaguars. To get Drew Lock, you're going to bring him in on a cheap 5-year deal. I don't think Nick Foles is going to be very good. And if Drew Lock beat out Nick Foles, would not completely surprise me. This is somewhat reminiscent of when the Seahawks gave Matt Flynn a bunch of money and they still drafted quarterback and everyone kind of criticized it. I don't care. Jacksonville has been just so bad with this quarterback situation, going back to Blaine Gabbert, drafting Blake Bortles and then sticking with him for about 3 years longer than they should have. Hell, they even extended Blake Bortles. And now they go to Nick Foles, who's kind of a career backup. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but it doesn't really have the desirable traits. So I'm not done trying to get a quarterback here in Jacksonville. They've got enough talent everywhere else. If they can have a good quarterback room, they have a chance. So you got an elite defender already in Ed Oliver to try and get that defense back to glory. And now you're increasing competition in that quarterback room, going to maximize what you can get there. And to get this, they're going to give up pick 38 and pick 98, which was actually originally the Rams pick, ironically. Pick number 32, Green Bay, who moved down here. We're going to grab Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now, I've said that Green Bay needs another corner. Kevin King has no hamstrings, and Josh Jackson is a player I like, but has a lot of question marks. So you need some more depth there. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I list as a nickel cornerback. So this is going to take Josh Jackson with a little bit of stiffness out of the nickel where I think he kind of struggled. You can either play Jackson on the outside, or maybe you do play Chauncey Gardner as a strong safety. It really doesn't matter to me. I just think they need one more impact player in that secondary. And I love Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I tweeted a while back that he really is a very similar prospect to Minkah Fitzpatrick to me, and frankly is better fit to play that role of a nickel defender. He actually shows flashes of kind of that ability to break on balls that Charles Woodson had for Green Bay in the nickel. So we're actually going to split this video into 2 parts. Again, guys, if you made it this far, please do hit that like button. I would love it if you join me for part 2. We're going to do rounds 2 and 3, but if you have to go, I get it. So I will drop the link right here to head over to part 2, and we'll see you there.